When the name Donnie McClurkin came up, it always stirred deep emotions of faith, hope, and strength. His voice had carried millions through pain, his songs had lifted broken hearts, and his story had been one of falling down and standing back up again. People saw him as a symbol of resilience, a man who faced storms yet still smiled through them. But you won't believe what came next, because recently, news about him shook the entire gospel world to its core. Let me tell you, this wasn't just another health update or passing rumor. It was something that made even his strongest followers fall silent, something that made people realize how fragile even the strongest souls could be. Donnie's journey had never been an easy one. He was born in Amityville, New York, where his life took a tragic turn very early. When he was only 8 years old, his younger brother lost his life in a car accident right in front of him. That day left a wound in Donnie's heart that never truly healed. It was the beginning of a chain of painful experiences that would shape his entire life. After that, he suffered through years of abuse by people who were supposed to protect him. Those dark years filled him with confusion, shame, and questions that haunted him for decades. But here is the shocking part. Instead of letting those experiences destroy him, he found a strange kind of peace in music. The church became his escape, and singing became his way to survive. Every song he sang was like a prayer, every lyric a cry for healing. Slowly, that gift turned into his purpose. Donnie rose from the shadows of pain to become one of the most loved gospel voices in the world. His songs like Stand and We Fall Down weren't just music. They were lifelines for people going through their own battles. His voice touched prisons, hospitals, and churches alike. It was as if every scar he carried made his music even more powerful. But this is where it gets interesting. Behind that strong voice and smiling face, there was still a man quietly struggling to find peace in his heart. Donnie's success brought him fame, but it didn't erase his loneliness. He often spoke about how hard it was for him to trust people after everything he had been through. He never got married, and even though he had thousands of fans around the world, he often went home to an empty house. He once said that after every concert, when the cheering stopped and the lights went off, he would sit alone and think about what his life could have been if pain hadn't followed him from childhood. What makes this story different is that Donnie didn't hide any of it. He talked about his pain openly. He admitted that sometimes faith wasn't easy, that sometimes he too felt broken. But the craziest part came years later. Just when people thought Donnie had finally found peace through his faith and his music, destiny took an unexpected turn. His family came forward with heartbreaking news. Donnie was battling serious health problems. They didn't share all the details, but they said it was affecting not only his voice, but also his strength and energy. For someone who had spent his whole life singing, preaching, and lifting others, this news was devastating. Fans were shocked. How could someone who had given so much, who had helped so many, now be the one in need of prayers? The family explained that Donnie had been struggling for some time, but he didn't want to make it public. He didn't want people to worry or feel sorry for him. He still showed up with a smile, still sang with power, even when his body was in pain. He didn't want pity. He wanted people to keep believing. But deep down, his health was becoming harder to manage. His voice, the same voice that had comforted millions, was growing weaker. And yet, even in that weakness, he continued to sing praises to God. You won't believe how much he had already survived. Years ago, he was in a car accident that almost took his life. He came out with broken bones and scars that took months to heal. After that, he started dealing with issues in his vocal cords, something that terrified him. His voice wasn't just his job, it was his ministry, his identity. Losing it felt like losing himself. And now, at 65, those problems had returned stronger than before. His family said that he was trying to stay strong, but this time the pain was heavier than ever. Still, Donnie didn't complain. His family shared that even on his hardest days, he would still find a way to thank God. There were nights when his body hurt and his voice trembled, but he would start singing solidly, filling the house with the same spirit that once filled entire arenas. That was who Donnie McClurkin was, a man who believed that faith didn't mean you never suffered, but that you never stopped believing even when you did. As the news about Donnie's health spread, fans across the world were left in tears. Many couldn't believe that the same man who once gave them strength was now fighting his own battle behind closed doors. Let me tell you, this part of his journey reveals sides of Donnie that the world had never seen before. His family said he had always been a private person, but this time the truth had to come out because the situation had become impossible to hide. You won't believe how far his health struggles had gone. The people close to him described that even simple things like walking long distances or standing for long performances had started to drain him. His once powerful voice would sometimes fade during rehearsals, leaving him frustrated but still determined. But here is the shocking part. Instead of resting, he kept pushing himself, believing that God would give him the strength to continue. He said, "If I can still speak, I can still praise." That single sentence told the world everything about his faith. But this is where it gets interesting. Behind that faith-filled image, Donnie was quietly facing moments of deep loneliness. He had always been open about never marrying and how that choice, mixed with fear and trust issues from his past, left him emotionally isolated. His family revealed that in recent years, as his health declined, that loneliness grew heavier. He often said that he had given his life to ministry, but sometimes he wondered who would stand beside him when the lights went off. Those words broke the hearts of his fans because they realized that even their hero of faith had moments of quiet sadness. Donnie's days had become slower. There were mornings when he woke up weak and nights when pain made it hard to sleep. Still, he refused to let despair take over. His family recalled how he would start humming hymns even in the middle of his pain. He said music was the only way he could talk to God when words failed him. What makes this story different is that, unlike many celebrities who hide their struggles behind glamour, Donnie never pretended to be perfect. He allowed the world to see that faith and pain can live side by side. The craziest part was how his fans responded. The moment people heard about his health issues, social media filled with old videos of his live performances. People shared stories of how his songs had carried them through loss, depression, and heartbreak. Churches began holding prayer meetings just for him. Pastors from all over the country called for special moments of prayer in their services. His name became a symbol of strength once again, not because he was performing, but because he was still standing, still believing, even while he suffered. But destiny took an unexpected turn again. Donnie's health condition forced him to cancel several performances and ministry events. For someone whose life had been spent on the stage, that decision broke his heart. His family said he struggled to accept it. He felt like he was letting people down. "They need me," he said, "and I still have songs to sing." But his body couldn't keep up anymore. This realization hit him harder than anyone could imagine. For a man whose purpose was tied to his voice, losing the ability to perform freely felt like losing a part of himself. Even in the silence, though, Donnie kept finding ways to stay connected with his faith and his fans. He began spending more time with his family, reflecting on life, and writing new songs, not for fame, but for healing. His sister shared that some of the songs he was writing during this difficult time were so emotional that they made everyone cry. She said it was like Donnie was preparing to share his deepest truth with the world one last time. And then came a moment that no one expected. A video of Donnie singing softly at home went viral. He was sitting in a chair, eyes closed, his voice faint but full of emotion. The caption simply read, "Even in weakness, God is still strong." That short clip brought millions of views and thousands of comments from people saying they were praying for him. It reminded everyone that his ministry wasn't about fame, it was about faith. What makes this also moving is how, even while facing sickness, Donnie's heart was still focused on others. He told his family that he didn't want anyone to pity him, he wanted them to keep believing. He said if this was his final test, then he wanted to pass it with praise, not fear. That one statement became a message that spread everywhere. Faith doesn't end when life gets hard. That's when it truly begins. But here is where it gets even more emotional. As the months passed, Donnie's health began to affect his daily life more than ever. Some days he couldn't attend church services, and other days he struggled just to speak for long periods. Still, he insisted on joining family prayers, even if all he could do was whisper. As time passed, Donnie's story began to touch people in a deeper way than ever before. It was no longer just about a singer facing sickness. It was about a man walking through one of the hardest tests of faith and still holding on. You won't believe how much this season of his life revealed about who Donnie truly was behind the stage lights. His family said that even as his health got weaker, his faith somehow grew stronger. He often said, if God trusted me with pain, then he must trust me to show others how to survive it. Those words stayed with everyone who heard them. But here's the shocking part. Donnie's battle wasn't just physical. The emotional weight he carried started to show in small ways. Some days his family would find him sitting in silence for hours, lost in thought. They said he would stare out the window, softly humming old hymns, tears falling quietly. When they asked him what he was thinking about, he simply said, "I'm just thanking God for the journey." This is where it gets interesting because instead of giving up, Donnie used this pain to find even deeper meaning in his life. He began reconnecting with old friends and church members he hadn't seen in years. He called people just to pray with them, to remind them that God was still good. One pastor shared that Donnie called him one night, even while he was in pain, and said, "Don't let your struggle stop your worship." That simple message moved everyone who heard it. It was as if Donnie was turning his suffering into his final ministry, one that didn't need a microphone or a stage. But destiny took an unexpected turn once again. Even though the public saw moments of strength behind the scenes, his family noticed how much his health was declining, his body was weaker, and his energy was fading fast. Yet, every time someone suggested he rest more, Donnie would smile and say, "I'll rest when my purpose is complete." His sister said that those words scared her because they sounded like he was preparing for something he hadn't said out loud. The craziest part came when Donnie insisted on attending a small church gathering, even though he could barely stand. His family begged him to stay home, but he told them he had a message to deliver. With help, he made it to the church, and when he took the microphone, the room fell silent. His voice was weak, but his words carried power. He said, "I've learned that miracles aren't always healing. Sometimes the miracle is being able to worship while you're still in pain." That sentence brought the whole church to tears. People said they had never seen such raw faith in their lives. What makes this story different is that Donnie never asked, "Why me?" He accepted every moment, the good, the bad, and the painful, as part of his purpose. His family said that he believed God used his life as an example to show others that brokenness could still bring light. And it was true. His story was changing people everywhere. Even those who had stopped believing found hope again just by watching him hold on. Let me tell you, even though his body was growing weaker, his spirit remained unshaken. He still found reasons to laugh with his family, still encouraged others who visited, and still prayed for healing for people who came to see him. His strength amazed everyone. It was like he carried an invisible light, something that pain couldn't dim. His brother said one night, "Donnie may be tired, but his spirit still sings louder than ever." But here is the shocking part. The more people prayed for Donnie's healing, the more he started talking about peace instead. He said, "Maybe the healing isn't about the body. Maybe it's about the heart." Those words left everyone speechless. It was as if Donnie was slowly preparing his family for something he already understood, that sometimes healing looks different from what we expect. Fans kept posting online, sending prayers and love. Gospel artists recorded tribute videos. Churches across the country dedicated entire nights to sing his songs. Some even said that his suffering had brought the gospel community closer than ever before. People weren't just singing his lyrics anymore, they were living them. "We Fall Down, But We Get Up" became more than a song. It became a movement of faith, reminding everyone that even the strongest can fall and even the weakest can rise. And yet, through it all, Donnie stayed humble. He didn't want fame or pity. He just wanted people to keep believing. He said if his story could help one person find faith again, then it was worth it. His family shared that those final months were both painful and beautiful. There were moments of laughter, deep talks about forgiveness, and long nights of prayer. Donnie told them that he wasn't afraid of what was coming next. He was grateful for every breath he still had. As time went on, Donnie's story turned into something far bigger than anyone had imagined. The news about his health had started as a moment of sadness, but it soon became a wave of faith that spread across the world. People who had never met him were now praying for him daily. And you won't believe how deeply this touched his heart. His family said that even though he was weak, he wanted to know what people were saying. They read him messages from fans, some thanking him for saving their lives through his songs, others promising to pray until he was healed. Every word made him emotional, and he would quietly whisper, "Thank you, Lord, for letting me matter." But here is the shocking part. Even as his body continued to fail him, Donnie refused to lose his smile. He would tell his family not to cry, saying, "Lad, we've been through worse, and God saw us through." That was who he was until the end, a man who never let fear win. This is where it gets interesting. His family shared that during his last few public appearances, Donnie looked more peaceful than ever before. People noticed something different about him. He wasn't performing for fame anymore. He was sharing his heart. Every word he spoke felt like a final message to the world. What makes this story different is that Donnie didn't let sickness define his ending. He turned it into another testimony. Even when his voice couldn't hit high notes anymore, he sang softly, with tears in his eyes, and it touched people more deeply than ever. His pain became his ministry. His weakness became his message. His faith became his final song. His sister said that one night when he could barely speak, he whispered, "If this is my last season, let it glorify God." Those were words that silenced everyone in the room. Destiny took an unexpected turn again, but this time it wasn't tragedy, it was transformation. Donnie's family said that as days went by, he seemed more ready to rest. He wasn't afraid anymore. He talked more about heaven, peace, and gratitude. He said he wasn't sad about what he was leaving behind because he had lived his purpose. He said, "My songs were never about me. They were about the God who carried me." Those words reminded everyone why the world loved him in the first place. The craziest part was that even in his weakest state, he was still giving strength to others. Nurses, friends, and even strangers who met him during his illness said he never stopped encouraging them. He would pray for others from his hospital bed. He would smile at people and tell them, "Don't worry, God's still in control." And somehow those simple words changed hearts. Donnie didn't just preach faith, he lived it until his final breath. Let me tell you, when news of his condition spread further, it didn't bring despair, it brought unity. The gospel world came together like never before. Churches from every corner of the country prayed for him. Choirs sang his songs in his honor. And fans from all over the world shared how his music had helped them overcome depression, addiction, and loss. They said Donnie wasn't just a singer. He was their voice when they couldn't speak, their faith when they had none left. And here is where it gets emotional. His family said that one of his favorite things to do in his final weeks was to sit quietly and listen to his own songs. Sometimes he would close his eyes, smile, and say, "God really gave me these words for a reason." He understood that his purpose had always been to comfort others, and he did exactly that, from the first song to the last. On one quiet evening, surrounded by his loved ones, Donnie prayed with them one more time. He told them to keep their faith, to love each other, and to never stop believing in miracles. He reminded them that life was not about how long you live, but how many lives you touch. And as he finished his prayer, his family said it felt like peace filled the room. That moment showed them that even in pain, Donnie McClurkin's life was still a testimony. After his family shared this story, the world didn't just cry, it reflected. People realized that true faith isn't shown when life is easy, it's proven when everything falls apart and you still choose to believe. Donnie's journey reminded everyone that no matter how many times life knocks you down, you can still get back up. Because faith doesn't end in defeat, it ends in victory. His legacy now lives far beyond his songs. It lives in the hearts of people who heard his message, who felt his spirit, and who found hope in his words. Donnie McClurkin's story will always be remembered as one of courage, faith, and love. Proof that even in the darkest times, light can still shine through. So yes, the news about Donnie was heartbreaking, but it was also powerful because it reminded the world that no storm lasts forever and no battle is too big when faith is real. Donnie's journey was never about fame